I had a couple of ideas that I thought would work on the Twilight Zone. I thought, even though I'm a homespun kind of writer, um, maybe having met Rod Serling earlier and having given him his first job, maybe he would consider them. So I sent the two ideas to Rod, and within a few days, I had a call from his um producer, Buck Houghton, who said, "We like your ideas, and but this everything's done by committee here." So I thought, well, gee, that's a nice way of letting me down. At least they recognize the show. So Rod called a few days later, and he bought both scripts, which was wonderful. And I made some money, and I sent for my family, and I was never without work again. I wasn't out of work again until I became old, and suddenly non persona non grata in television.
How familiar were you with The Twilight Zone? Did you watch it on
I
television?
did before I sent these ideas in, and also I was acquainted with the show, and I admired it, and thought what I thought. I think that sometimes in television, scripts reach the level of literature. Often I think it's junk and stuff that's just spewed out with no thought and other than to get a script done. But I think sometimes it reaches the level of television literature, something that says something that's lasting, something that's worthwhile. And I think that most of Rod's scripts on that show did speak to some point. Something they said something valuable, something that I think is lasting today because the show is still on the air somewhere. Although there have been copies of it, which I never thought came up to the original.
Well, describe Rod Serling personally and professionally.
Well, I only knew him professionally. We did not visit in our homes. It was a professional relationship, but a kindly and generous giving on his part. Um, he was a short man, and like some people don't have great height, he levitated. He had great strength. He had been a paratrooper. He had a remarkable energy. He's a person of great personal conviction and and vision and talent. And I think every one of his scripts had. He was greatly for the downtrodden, uh, the common man. I think, like I have tried to do, he found nobility in seemingly ordinary people. And I think he had just a remarkable mind that could continue to. I think he may have had a premonition of his death because he died so early, but he wrote so fast. I did have a friend who was close enough to Rod that he would be invited to their home for dinner, and he would say that in the middle of dinner, Rod would get up from the dining room table and he would go to the typewriter, and you'd hear the typewriter going from his office down the hallway. But Rod was kind enough to give me, or maybe they were valuable to him, at least 8 scripts. And it was wonderful because he would never offer an idea. He would just say, I would take in a script and he would say, what do you want to do next?
Describe the series itself. What was The Twilight Zone?
It's hard to say. It was Rod's vision. It was really more of an expanded anecdote than a long piece, than a big thing. Although it treated big subjects: death, uh, hatred, prejudice, war, uh, aging. They were always specific subjects. Um, it lent itself to all kinds of storytelling. And I know once someone asked me why it was popular, and my answer, a man named Mark Zickery, who wrote the Twilight Zone Companion, and I think Mark closes the book with my quote, which is that we all love good stories well told, and it's been the guidepost for anybody who wants to entertain from the time we sat around campfires in caves down to today. We simply want a well-told story. But I think it was unique in that writers had an opportunity to say something. Often, I think we are told what to say in writing for television, or we have to uh, make our story conform to a strict kind of formula. But with Rods, it was, we had a half hour and tell your story. And I think those scripts, as I said, approach literary level. The ones I did were great fun, and I did a couple of bad ones, but I did a couple of good ones too.